Hello, it's Aaliyah from Learn to Become Radio, and today I'm doing a little guest podcast for my parents, April and Eric, about something that we used all growing up called the sneaky sorter. And this is something that I never really realized was being used until I got a little bit older. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in this little audio that my mom and I recorded a few months ago while we were out on a walk, just talking about how we use this simple system to help to manage all those different papers and projects and knick-knack items that we brought home from school or church or friends' houses or even our own coloring parties at the kitchen table. And so if you are someone who either has children in your family who are constantly making things, bringing things home, very creative, and the stuff is starting to pile up, this is going to be super helpful for you. And this is also something that I've started to implement a little bit more as my husband and I have been married and we've started our own lives together, and as we've received different gifts or made certain things that we're not sure if we want to keep. So I'll get to that after our little segment with me and my mom. But we hope that you enjoy learning about the sneaky sorter and that it will be something really beneficial to you and your family, whether you have children or not. And on our show notes page, there are some super fun pictures of the different things that we kept in the sneaky sorter and some real life examples of what we used growing up in our house. And so we'll have everything linked at learndobecome.com/episode 153. And then we'll have a little announcements, a few announcements at the end of this podcast and some extra helpful links for you there. So enjoy the podcast.
I'm out on a walk with Aaliyah, our daughter, who's 21, and we were just talking about how we used to use the sneaky sorter and use the end of school time as a time to do photo shoots. Do you want to share your memory of the photo shoots?
Yeah, for sure. So we had this thing called the sneaky sorter, and it was essentially two baskets up in our laundry room, just above the washer, and everything that we would come home from school with would go in the baskets. And there was two sections. One was the really nice kids' crafts and things that we would save, and the special memories that my mom was like, oh, that's so cute. And then the other stuff was just like the general worksheets and papers that were going to get thrown away that would just get recycled.
Most likely to be thrown away.
Yeah, so like nothing important, just kind of like the usual like math worksheets and whatnot. So it was really helpful because, well, first of all, if the teachers were ever like, hey, we need you to bring this essay back or this thing back, we forgot to put the grade in, everyone's thinking, shoot, I've lost mine or it's in the trash somewhere. And so we always knew where ours were because it was in the sneaky sorter till the end of the school year. And then at the very end, we would have a photo shoot party.
I'd give them the camera, a little point and shoot.
Yeah, it was like a point and shoot, like super simple, low-key camera. Like it could do exactly what we needed to have happen.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like fancy or anything. And so we would just line up all of our papers and anything that like our art projects or anything we'd made. And then we would just take pictures of it. So,
and sometimes you would have a sibling take the pictures while you would hold it up. Sorry. People running by. So what would happen is we'd have a whole pile of things that they decided they didn't want to keep in their boxes because you have one box for every 5 years of your life.
Yeah.
And then I'd say, okay, go out in the backyard. So for example, you and Grace would go in the backyard and Grace would get all her pile and she'd hold each one up and you'd take photos of it. And then we had, I don't know, probably 60 to 100 photos maybe.
Yeah, like not too many, but just enough to capture like a picture of our art project or a picture of a math worksheet that someone was like excited they did well on. They would just take a quick little picture of it and then be able to recycle it.
But we were laughing about it because some of those pictures were super blurry.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, when you hand a 7-year-old a camera, what do you expect is going to happen, right?
But they had the ability to press play on the digital camera and look at it.
Yeah, we could have double checked and made sure it was like a nice high quality picture, but
you didn't care about it.
No.
I wasn't worried about it. I took really good quality pictures of the things I loved.
Yeah.
But then I just gave them a stack and said, okay, go take pictures. If this is important to you, but you don't want to keep it, go take pictures. So even though they were really low quality pictures, it entertained you guys for a good hour or so. True. And now we can go look back at our pictures and we can see anything we want.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it was fun because it helped us see like decluttering and organization and being able to get rid of things as like a fun, happy process instead of, oh, I'm so sad I have to part with my papers. It was like, yeah, you get to take pictures of them, and then now we're going to process them and be done with them.
Well, I had the same conversation with my sister-in-law last week because she was helping our brother-in-law clean out his bedroom. And he had, I don't know, several jerseys and old shirts. And I walked in the room and he held up this shirt that had all these autographs on it from the group that had been with him at the camp. It was something like that. So everyone had signed it, kind of like a yearbook, and they all signed the back of a sweatshirt. And he said, what do I do with this? Should I keep it? Because it has all these signatures on it. And I said, well, why don't you just take a picture of it and then just put it like in Evernote or something like that. And then you can just visit it whenever you want. And they're like, that is such a good idea.
Yeah, in reality, how many times are you actually going to go revisit that jersey and be like, I want to go look at my random 17-year-old friend's
he was never going to wear it. And he didn't want to keep it, but he just felt bad throwing it away. So we're like, just get some good photos.
Yeah.
And then you can get rid of that and then you can visit it. And they like the idea of visiting it because you can go visit your photos.
Yeah. And what I realized too is that even when I did have my box, because like she said, when we were younger, we had a box for like age 0 to 5, 6 to 10, and so on for each 5 years of our lives. And I realized that I would be running out of space sometimes in my boxes. So I would kind of go through it and make sure I only had what I really wanted. And I would take pictures of things, put it in Evernote. But I realized now it's been about 6-7 years since then. I haven't. I went back to my Evernote, and I don't even need any of those pictures, or I don't even want any of them.
But they're there in case,
right?
Yeah. So anyway, that was us on our walk.
Yeah. So you heard the neighbors, you heard the delivery trucks, you heard kids screaming, and all the good stuff.
But I just wanted to record it while we were in the moment because I love hearing my children now looking back, saying, "Hey, decluttering was a positive thing." Now it's not emotional for you now because now as she's moving from college apartment to college apartment. Or she's getting married and she's getting ready to get things settled. There's no like emotional attachment to things. I mean, some things that are special, but otherwise it's just easy to, part with what you don't need and keep what you need. And anyway, thought it might be a good, helpful idea.
Yeah, so maybe we can include some of those awesome pictures in the show notes.
We should go find it. All right, so I hope that's helpful.
And after recording that, I actually went through some of our old family photos and found some examples of what we did to incorporate the sneaky sorter and also those fun photo shoots with all of our drawings and pictures and crafts. And I actually found an entire photo shoot, and I just put a whole screenshot of it on the show notes page. And it's just the most random collection of drawings and little storybooks that we wrote. And everything here in these pictures, I am 100% happy with not having the physical item. I'm not thinking, oh, I really wish I'd saved that, or that was my favorite thing ever. They were just kind of those cute little things that we made, but they weren't super sentimental or they weren't super, super meaningful. And I do have a couple boxes of things that were really special, and I have saved those. But I've actually been able to go back and pare down a little bit more even now as an adult because I've realized that I was just kind of saving the fun things as a kid, and now I'm trying to figure out how do I really streamline so I only save the most important things, and then obviously I can have awesome pictures of the rest of my memories. And so there's a little picture on the show notes page of my brother Spencer holding a little math worksheet that he colored. There's a picture of us coloring, and we had this big bucket of markers that we would just dig through and make all of our drawings, and we could probably pump out 50 drawings in a morning if all 4 of us were working together. So that definitely produced a lot of stuff for my mom to have to process, but it was encouraging our creativity, and it was super fun for us. And then we also have a picture of an example of one of the banker's boxes that our family uses when we were growing up. We had a little box that we used every 5 years, and we could put our most special things in it. And our mom would give us a pile of papers from the side of the sneaky sorter that was all the sentimental memories that we were going to save. And then she'd say, okay, here's your pile, go run this up to your box. And then we would all go run upstairs. Our boxes were usually in the bedroom closet. And then we would just put everything in there, and it had a home, and everything was good to go. And then there's a couple pictures of just some crafts that we worked on, including something that was super big. Like my brother made a robot out of a bunch of stuff from the recycling bin. He got cardboard boxes and a plastic plate, like all these random things, put it together, made a robot. And I think all the siblings probably worked on it together. And while it was very cute and fun in the moment, it was also very large, and it could sit on the couch like a person. And so it's probably better that we just have a picture of that. But it was super fun for us to be given that creative freedom, creative liberty of here's the camera, go to a photo shoot, have a fun time. And then we never felt really sad when it was time to part with the things that we'd made, because realistically, we can't save every cardboard fort or creation. We would play with it for a little while, and then there would be this natural progression into the recycle bin once we were done with them. So hopefully that is something that can be beneficial for you and your family. And I think that this also really gave me some good insights as an adult as to what's really worth saving and how I don't need to feel sad about recycling, donating, or throwing things away when I don't currently use them or need them. And an example of that right now is we've been married for a year. Today's actually our anniversary when I'm recording this, so it's kind of fun. But we've kind of received some either wedding gifts or knickknacks from friends and family members, received things from our university when they're giving out different items for whatever celebrations going on. And so we've kind of accumulated a few things that we don't realistically see ourselves holding on to long term. So while we're not making as many crafts or projects or whatever as 20-year-olds, we have realized that it's okay to have a little section in our office closet where we put some of these items. Like my husband was given a backpack for being in a student leadership thing for school, but we already have several backpacks that are better for our needs and we don't want to waste it. So we might hold on to that for a little while until there's a backpack drive for local kids in our area, or maybe there's somebody else in need that could use it better if we were to donate it. And so we start accumulating these things in this area, and we have a routine to check it and go through it. And this is especially helpful for when we receive a gift from a loved one. And that can sometimes be tricky when somebody gives you something and you're so grateful for it and it's an expression of their love. But sometimes if they maybe expect you to be showing it somewhere in your home or utilizing it very frequently, and you know that it's not something that's actually usable in your everyday life, or it's not something that totally fits what you're doing, what we like to do is just keep a few of those things in the top of this closet space that's not taking up a ton of room. And then we can kind of set a timeline for ourselves. With the sneaky sorter, I think my mom would go through it maybe quarterly or every 6 months, depending on when it got too full or how many things were in it. And for us now as adults, we're able to set up our own routine and say, well, this was a super nice thing, but we haven't used it in 6 months, or we haven't used it in a year, and it's okay if we part with it. And we're very grateful to that person for giving us these things, but we don't need to keep holding on to items just because they were given to us. And so that's been really helpful to create that boundary for ourselves of not feeling obligated to keep every single thing that comes into our lives. And it's helped our apartment to stay really streamlined because we're in a fairly small apartment as somewhat newlyweds. And we're trying to make sure that we are keeping our space clean and organized and really usable for any situation we might have, whether it's having guests or just having our work and homework and our everyday things. So if there's one thing that you take away from this podcast, it is that a sneaky sorter or some kind of small designated area for these kind of things coming into your life is going to be so beneficial. Okay, and now to a couple of exciting announcements with what's coming up in the next couple days or weeks at Learn to Become. And if you're listening to this after the fact, you are still totally welcome to check them out. First is our Step Mastery member event, which is going to be on Tuesday, August 23rd at 10 a.m. Pacific. And that's going to be taught by our awesome team member, Jill. And she is a master at time blocking and being able to incorporate project time and working on routines, family time, work into her daily schedule. And we're so excited to be able to learn from her in this class. And so that's going to be available for all Step Mastery members who join by the end of August. And if you're not a Mastery member yet, or you're interested in learning more, or even interested in purchasing just access to this one class, if you're not wanting to jump right into the program yet, all the information is going to be on our show notes page at learndobecome.com/episode 153. And then we also have our exciting 4 weeks to finish program starting on September 1st. And this is something that our entire team is involved in. We are coaching and working right alongside of you as you build a command central and establish all of the different elements of having a calendar and your current projects list and your routines. We're going to help you set everything up and coach you. We have almost daily office hours to help you, and you can come chat with us, ask questions. It's so awesome. This is our 3rd session, and we just love getting the chance to work right alongside with the community. And so you can see all the details about that on our show notes page as well. Everything is going to be on the show notes page. Or if you're super excited to jump right into getting on our interest list or purchasing the program when it is open, you can go to learndobecome.com/4 and weeks. So 4 weeks. And that has all the information there. And then finally, my mom was like, hey, you could introduce this as well, because we're talking about students and organization and all the things that come with, being in school and having these systems introduced to you for the first time. And I actually created a program called Step for Students back when I was in high school. And then I created a simple program for college students that they can have a couple ideas to learn how to implement STEP principles into their lives. And so you can find all of that information again on the show notes page or directly at learndobecome.com/S4S. So S4S. And that has all the information about my student programs. So now that we've done all these announcements for the end of the podcast, thank you so much for joining us and learning more about the sneaky sorter. And if this is something that you currently do already, or if you have a fun way that you've modified it for your family or your own life situation, we'd love to hear about it and maybe even see pictures if you want to share them with us. It's always so fun to see what the community is working on and how everyone has implemented these fun ideas differently. And there's so much to learn from all of our community members, and we just love hanging out with you guys digitally. It'd be so fun to be hanging out right in person, but the podcast will have to do for now. But anyways, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode.